Okay, so today's video is going to be talking about the Eton Dorney Triathlon that happened at the weekend, just going over how my race went and just a general review of the whole race itself. So we picked the race Eton because it was being run by a really good friend of ours, James Shipley, who is part of the Active Training World events group. We've known James for a number of years, so he does a lot of chip timing for tons of events, from just running events to triathlon, duathlon events. So when we heard he was running the triathlon, we wanted to support it with him. We then also was able to help get the PTO to back the race as well, put some exposure into the event and also put some prize money into the event, which is always a big bonus for us pros, and that itself kind of drawed in some bigger name British pros as well, which allowed us to have a great race on home soil, which we don't often get, so that was a big plus for us. So at the moment I've been sticking with more of the middle half distance, obviously dabbled with an Olympic distance the weekend prior to this, but at the moment a lot of my training has just been based around that kind of distance, so I haven't been pushing up to the massive long mileage, and also I'm qualified for Kona, so there is really no need for me to do an Ironman at this point in the year. My focus on the long distance is solely on Kona this year, and then after that will be on the sub 8, so pretty much from where we are now I'm just building on that middle distance training towards Kona at the back end of the year. But I want to go into Kona fresher than I've ever been. I've normally done at least 2 full distance races before Kona when I go there, and I'm already feeling pretty tired in my body, pretty tired mentally as well. So I want to go to Kona feeling fresh mentally, fresh physically, and ready to just go all in for that full distance, because it is brutal in Kona and I want to be ready to give it absolute hell this year. Yeah, so the course in Eton was a 1-lap swim, which in theory should have been the most straightforward swim ever, because you're just following the rowing lane line, turning right, and then following the lane line back. Actually, I found it quite difficult to sight, just purely because the tiny little buoys that are like a lane rope are actually really difficult to see, and the big one is so far away that I just didn't want to get it wrong, basically. So I actually felt like so much pressure to get it right, because it's the most straightforward course you're ever going to swim, that may have actually slowed me down a little bit. I just don't want to get this wrong, because if you get that wrong, God, you're just going to get ripped into. So luckily swam it right. Happy with that. 1800 metre swim, probably was slightly longer than 1800, transition 1. Felt really happy with that. Feel like some of my short course training, that 11-day period that I had, paid off. My transition 1 felt pretty smooth. Actually did a better mount than I've ever done before on my TT bike. Not sure if we've got any footage of that, but it was pretty good. Then onto the bike, we had a 12-lap bike course, which was super straightforward. We had a headwind going out, and then we should have had a tailwind coming back, but because that area was so sheltered, we actually didn't benefit from the tailwind at any point, and I think the wind had really picked up throughout the day, so it made it slightly slower conditions for the pros racing. But actually, because it was so hot, you kind of didn't mind the headwind because it cooled you down a little bit. So the course itself was quite fast. It was pancake flat. We had a turn at one end, turn at the other end, 12 laps. T2, dismounted my bike safely, always a win. Really good T2. I felt like I just got straight through it and didn't faff about. So you're faffing about right now. Got my shoes on, ran out, put my hat on as I was running, put my glasses on, my watch on as I was running. So really smooth with that. So again, I think those short course skills might be starting to pay off on the middle distance, and still need to be tons faster for short distance, but pretty good for middle and long distance. And then the run, I felt really strong. Again, we had a headwind going out and then such a long way back. So basically it was 2.5k out, 2.5k back 3 times. So you had a headwind going out and then really didn't benefit from the tailwind going back again. So whilst it was a flat run, actually it wasn't super fast because of that headwind. Again, you kind of liked the headwind because that cooled you down. And then the part where you had the tailwind was actually quite hot. So the run was all about managing that heat, keeping yourself cool, not letting the body overheat, not going out too hard and just letting that heat rip you. So yeah, that was really important, just to manage that. So I felt super strong, kind of paced it how I wanted to, went out quite hard to make sure I'd established the gap, and then just settled into my own rhythm, and by the last lap knew it wasn't going to be closed down, so I could really kind of just settle into my own runs. Okay, so main takeaways, learning points from the race. Ultimately in any race you do, you can't control what anyone else is doing, so it's just super important to just focus on yourself and your own race. Don't get distracted by what anyone else is doing. So swim felt pretty good, like I said, just wanted to make sure I was going the right way, establish a gap. It was non-wetsuit, so I always know that that's going to play into the strong swimmer's advantage. So outswam all of the male pros, which is a nice bonus. Onto the bike, again, was just trying to ride my own race. There was definitely some frustrating riding going on behind me. It's meant to be a 20-metre draft zone, but whilst that was going on, again, I'm just trying to focus on my own race, look at my own numbers. No, I've got a good gap over the strong bikers behind me who were gaining a small amount of time, but nothing that I needed to seriously worry about. So yeah, the run again felt really strong. Feel like my run is exactly where I want it to be at the moment. Went out really strong and then just managed that effort. One of the things that is quite frustrating at the moment with the way that this whole new point system is working is I was winning the race, and usually that's enough, but at the back of your mind you're thinking, actually, am I going fast enough to get maximal points? Should I push harder now because I need to go even faster to get more points? I think there are various issues with the point system, but I think that is one of them, that I didn't want to have to go harder than I needed to get the win, because I've got more training to do, more racing to do. I didn't want to ruin myself this week so that I can't train. So it's definitely something to think about, but I think I managed that effort pretty well and did what I needed to do to get the win, and had about 2 minutes clear of the next athletes. Yeah, so I've had a really good stint of racing over the last couple of weeks. Obviously had the Olympic swimming trials about 8 weeks ago, then went and had a really good 6-week training camp in Lanzarote, which we will definitely dive into in a video very soon. Came home, went to Leeds, raced Olympic distance, which I was really happy with my performance off of the back of quite short notice, and then wasn't sure how my legs were going to feel this weekend, because obviously Leeds was a lot shorter and more intense than I'm used to. I actually did some lab testing last week as well, so I had to kind of rest to do that and then do a little bit of work before Eton. So ultimately actually felt pretty good across all 3 disciplines. Actually, I think the worst I felt was on the swim, felt better on the bike and then best on the run. So I felt like I got better as the day went on. Definitely happy to get a win under my belt. It's been over a year since I've won a race. I mean, there wasn't any racing in 2020, so that kind of answers why that is. But also, I have been experimenting with some different kinds of racing. So obviously Arena Games, Olympic swimming trials, Leeds Olympic distance. So all of those racing is totally different to what I'd normally do. So finally to go and get a win was really, really sweet, and definitely hopefully I can build on that with the next big race coming up. So I'm definitely feeling on good form. I've got about just over a week now until I leave to go and do the 70.3 European Champs in Elsinore, which is looking like a pretty big race. I've never raced there before, so I've just been checking out the course, which looks like a really interesting swim course, looks quite confusing. The bike is rolling, which I do like, and then the run I think is pretty flat but with a lot of turns in it, so hoping those small skills that I picked up from doing turns in the WTCS racing will help me in that. And then I'm hoping to race in Holcombe at the middle distance, which is backed by the PTO as well. Then I'll go away and hopefully do a good block of training before the Collins Cup. So 2 more races in the near future, and then all going well, you should see me at the Collins Cup at the end of August. Definitely want to just keep building on this form. Like I said, Kona is the big goal at the end of the year for me, so we're going to start really ramping up that mileage after this race block, so I'm quite excited to do that. So thanks for watching this video. That's been a little wrap up of how the Eton Triathlon went at the weekend and what is coming up for me in the near future. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, make sure to like and subscribe for loads more cool videos coming soon.
I think it's a Jack Russell thing, they just know how to get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.